Welcome to Remelations. We're your hosts.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Brooke. Remelations is a dream interpretation podcast where we read listeners' dreams, from nightmares to the just plain bizarre. Join us as we give you our comedic interpretation of your fucked up REM cycle. This week, I've got a dream from Anonymous, so you know it's going to be good, about running 5Ks, dreaming about sage spiritual guides, and of course, Spider-Man.
We also have catnaps, where this week we have dreams about birthing ground starches, heartless creatures, surgeries that take 10 years to complete,
Ooh.
and of course, moist car vandalism.
Oh, no!
And Bestie, this week I am taking a paranormal turn when we talk about our topic. This week we're talking about one of Canada's most unexplained UFO sightings. We're talking the Falcon Lake Incident.
Oh.
All right, Bestie, grab that insurance card. You're going to need it. And let's get started.
Woo!
Hey! Are you yawning? Are you yawning just as we're going to start intro?
I didn't know you were going to say hey right then.
Hey, sleepy Susan.
I am Sleepy Susan today. Sorry.
Okay. And yawns are contagious. I'm not going to yawn.
I'm not going to yawn
you
again either.
Okay. Hi, best friend. How are you?
Hi. I love you.
Oh, thanks. I miss you. I know it's been like a week since we recorded, but I still feel like I got 1,000 things to tell you.
Well, I can't wait to hear all about it.
Okay. Well, let's get this rolling so we can get to it.
But I want to hear it now. But
I got nothing exciting to say. Nothing right now. Things that are going to take longer, which is why we could get to the end. So stay tuned, Bestie, for our life updates. Oh, no.
I'm sick and grumpy, Mindy. I want your
Okay, I'm going to try to turn your attitude and your health around. Give me a minute. Give me an hour and a half.
Okay. So I have a dream today, and it's from an anonymous female.
Okay. Oh, excellent. I'm glad we know.
Yes. They said, you can say that I am female. So I said, okay.
Okay.
So the reason I wanted to share this dream is that it is both a dream and a dream story.
Of course.
But best of all, this one comes with an update. So I love having that to add to the story because, we're always like, oh, I wonder what happened after that.
It's like Unsolved Mysteries. Like the best episodes were like, update.
The solved ones.
Yes. I want to know.
I can't deal with unsolved true crime. I need to know the answers.
Well, you're going to hate my topic.
Oh, good. I can't wait. So this is real life right now. She says, I recently weaned off my antidepressant for a number of reasons.
Okay.
One of them being I read that it decreases REM. And I didn't want to miss out on any dreams I'd otherwise have.
Don't stop your antidepressants on our accord, please. No, they're important too.
I'm sure she knows what she's doing, and she is starting something else or what have you.
I'll wait.
Sadly, during the weaning process, I had almost no dreams, or at least none that were vivid. This would be like you, Mindy, going from someone who's used to having like very vivid dreams.
It's cycles.
It does happen. I remained hopeful that my dreams would rebound once my brain had adjusted. Mm-hmm. The first memorable and vivid dream I had after I stopped the medicine was that I was a new high school track coach.
Okay. I had very interesting random path to go.
I had 2 co-coaches, one of them being my sister-in-law, who is not a real life runner, but is a real life leader.
Excellent.
Even though I am okay-ish real life runner, so she's
like me. I'm okay. I'm not. Yeah, I'm no marathoner. I'm barely a 5Ker.
You're not a track coach.
No.
She says I felt very unqualified. My sister-in-law handed me my coach attire, which was basically a pair of pink shorts that said Peloton on them.
Okay, well, kind of like it.
No top? just shorts.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Where's the support?
As I continued to feel inept, something from above caught my attention. It was a Native American man dressed in a suit made of colorful feathers,
Hmm.
hovering above me.
Okay.
The suit was apparently a wingsuit, that kind that is made, we kind of talked about this like a week ago,
Yeah,
I
like
think.
just the
The kind
squirrel
made for
suits.
base jumping.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
interesting.
squirrel suits.
Okay, I don't know if that's like pretty
I
typical
don't,
to indigenous culture attire,
yeah,
but okay.
base jumping. But she's like, but he wasn't exactly base jumping since he was just hovering above me.
I like it, and it's also a little creepy.
Yeah, it's a little different. I thought to myself how dangerous this activity was. The man said something to me, some sage words of advice, but I couldn't hear or understand what he said. That's like the
Yeah,
worst.
yeah. You're like, but wait. What did you say?
Wait. Once again? Oh, dude, hover back over here. Fast forward a couple weeks in real life.
Okay.
So now we're back in real life.
Update. Da-da-da-da-da.
I'm registered for a summer race series of 5Ks that take place every 2 weeks.
Awesome.
One of the runners I noticed at the first race is wearing Spider Man attire. Kind of
Okay,
funny,
cool. Yeah.
but I don't think much of it until a few days later when I'm scrolling through photos on the race website. I realized that Spider Man guy is the feather clad guy from my dream.
Oh.
Fast forward again to today, the second race in the series. Obviously, this is in the past because it was over the
Right.
summer. Sorry. The second race in the series, I see the guy again in Spider Man attire. I
Oh.
tried to capture a selfie with him in
Oh
the
my.
background
Please,
and
please
briefly.
tell me this is a meet cute. Please tell me they fall in love and they're married forever and have kids.
Oh, and she briefly considers telling him he was in her dream.
Okay, that's something I think I would do to someone. That's me. Like I had the weirdest dream about you.
I
Just
think you would, but I understand the conflict of
well,
like,
complete
hey,
stranger. Yeah.
hey, Rando, you were in my dream. You can take that a lot of ways.
Hey,
Especially,
Spidey.
I mean, imagine if someone came up to you and said that. I mean,
Oh my god, I honestly would be like, tell me
well,
everything.
okay, not you or me
Right.
necessarily, but a normal person would be like, "What?
Huh?
I don't know you,
Yeah, I get it.
Spidey."
I get
Like,
it.
I get it too. After the 5K, I stay for awards. First place for his age group. I think it was the 65 to 70 group.
Oh,
Good for Spider-Man.
wow. Spidey just getting it done.
Getting it done, running
Love
like a
it.
Spidey man should. I don't know. He swings mostly, doesn't he?
I think so.
But the wild part is, when his name was announced, I recognized the name as someone who's followed me on Strava for
Oh
years.
yeah,
Is
okay.
that what it's called?
Yeah,
Strava?
Strava's like a running app. It's
I
yeah.
know, I just didn't know if it was Strava or Strava.
Oh,
Okay.
well, I don't even know because I never say it out loud. So
Oh,
I can picture it in my head, but I honestly don't know. I say Strava.
Strava. Okay.
Sure.
Someone who's followed me on Strava for years. I think I follow him back. This dude has been encouraging me by liking even my shittiest runs for the last
Oh
few
my
years.
god, that's so cute.
Makes Isn't this adorable? Makes sense that he would subconsciously make an appearance in my dream and give me wise advice,
Ah.
even though I don't know what it
Even
was.
though he wasn't in feathers and he and he wasn't floating above you in real
Yes,
life.
but she still knew
Yeah.
he was a wise person,
Uh-huh.
and it was in a running related dream,
Hmm.
and she's at this running event. As the dream was also related to leadership, and I'm considering taking a more advanced position at my job right now.
Okay.
I feel like there's something big to this. I feel like I should approach this guy at the next race, but I'm still wondering if I should tell him about
Yes.
the dream or not.
Okay, maybe not the first interaction, but maybe like coffee date number 2.
Well, Mindy, I don't know if this is a date. I
Well,
don't know.
I don't know how old anonymous female is, but I guess doesn't matter when it comes to true love and meaning
I guess.
meet cutes. Okay.
So that's where it kind of ends, Mindy.
Oh.
But I do have the update.
Update. Dun-na-na-na-na. Dun-na-na-na-na-na. Dun-na-na-na-na-na. Dun-na-na-na-na.
So,
Where's Robert Stack when you need him?
I love that. Okay. So I went to race number 3 of the series this morning.
Okay.
I approached the guy, my potential spirit guide.
Yes.
The advice he had for me was mostly running related, but can also be applied to life. He said to focus more on being consistent with running regularly than on your pace or performance, explaining that no run is a bad run since most people aren't running at all, like me. He also talked about the importance of encouraging other runners in the sport.
Love it.
So this guy just seems awesome.
Yes.
I went to the starting line with less pressure on myself than usual and was able to rein in my usual urge to sprint out of the gate. I made a point to tell other runners good job along the way and
Aw.
ended up with my fastest 5K time in the
Ah,
last
she
3 years.
PR'd. Love it.
After the race, he started talking about the vortexes in Sedona and how he had spent time in one. People kept telling him how positive his aura was and kept asking to shake his hand.
Oh.
He also said that he has many predictive dreams and that he believes all dreams have a purpose.
Oh my goodness.
And that is the real end. That is the
Oh.
real end. But
I want to
very
meet both of
satisfying,
these
isn't it?
people.
Very satisfied. It was a beautiful, beautiful dream story.
Oh my
That was
God.
one of the best combos I think we've had of a
Agreed.
dream and a dream story.
1,000%. Oh, love it. I don't know
Sorry.
what vortexes are.
It's kind of like a slip in time and reality.
Oh, so like, okay. I thought it was like a
You
place
know
you
what I
went
mean? Something
to. Oh, I was hanging out with the vortex, you know.
it's no, or it's like a very it's like an opening.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Kind of
I don't
like,
know necessarily
yeah.
to where or
Sedona,
what
but
or when.
I've been to
Sedona is
Sedona.
like
Have you ever
that.
been there?
Yeah.
You lived
I've
in
well,
Arizona, so.
but I never actually went through Sedona. I mean, I've driven, by it, but
Okay.
never actually stopped, which is so silly of me. Like I don't know why I didn't because it sounds beautiful.
I went there for a work trip. I mean, half of it was work, half of it was our boss trying to hit on us. But other than that,
Oh,
it was a
mm,
beautiful place. I mean, it really did
yeah,
feel like spiritually, like something's in Sedona. Like I
it
feel like it
is.
is a
There is
very
something there.
neat
It's like a
feeling.
Joshua tree or an Ojai type, I
Mm-hmm.
think, of feeling out
Yeah.
there.
All right, Brooke. Well, before we get into the analysis, do you want to tell our
Yes.
besties about how they can support the show?
I would just absolutely love to, Mindy. All you have to do, bestie, is go to remelations.com/support and you can do everything from here. You can join our Patreon, which is our sleepover squad for exclusive behind the scenes footage and
Mm-hmm.
extra episodes and all the good, good, good stuff. You can also buy merch. And this is where you can submit your dreams and dream stories too. So we hope to hear from you very soon.
Love it. So our anonymous dreamer here kind of almost interprets the dream herself, I feel. I don't like what do you have to add? I'm very curious because I feel like she did a lot of self-reflection on this already.
Well, I have some
Of
stuff,
course you
Mindy,
do.
of
I
course,
know you do.
but as a matter of fact, in my analysis, I say she pretty much, this comes a little later, but she pretty much figures it out
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
But, so just talking about weaning off of a drug, like you said, kind of just as a joke, like, but seriously, it can cause so many different things to your body and your brain. And I find it interesting that our dreamer seems to have been, that very vivid type of dreamer
Mhm.
prior to the medication and wants to experience that again, strengthen her REM cycle. And that shows how important dreaming can be to a person's well being. I mean, we
Mhm.
can't say it enough,
Yeah.
people. Dreaming alone or at least listening to your dreams, very important. So I just wanted to get into her new job as a track coach. I mean, obviously she's a runner and it's a running dream, but she kept mentioning how she didn't feel confident in herself.
Yeah.
But she did have support from her co-coaches, and she said one of them was her sister-in-law. So it's someone from her waking life that she respects.
Mm-hmm.
and honors as someone with great leadership skills.
Yeah. And being a coach in general, I mean, that's
A coach in
101.
general.
I would say
Yeah.
like 80% of every coach I came across in my kids' sports kid careers, that of these coaches, most of it is leadership and none of it is really skill. Like I mean, even high school coaches, they get a stipend, which is great. They care
Yeah.
enough to provide leadership and coach these teams. And maybe they played in high school themselves, but none of them are like super athletes. They just
No,
take on that role of leadership and like nurturing and that I love about that.
I think that's an amazing quality to
Yeah.
have, and to be able to use it to teach and mold young and old minds alike.
Yeah.
It's a great quality. Um like you were saying, our dreamer basically already told us this, but the dream could be a reflection of her desire to take charge and guide others. And it may be a time for her to step into a leadership role, which she mentioned
Mhm.
that she was thinking
Mhm.
about.
I agree. Go for it.
I love the pink shorts that say Peloton across the butt. Maybe front. I don't know. She just said Peloton on them.
I'm
I
picturing
just
the butt
picture
just like Pink
I picture
was.
big across
Yes.
the butt. Yes, Peloton. We are the mighty
And I would
Pelotons.
like to be sponsored by Peloton.
And then a little pink bike mascot comes out. The Peloton bike. Oh, or it could be a treadmill, Mindy,
Could.
for you.
I have the bike. I don't have the tread. I would love the tread.
Although this is although this is funny, if you look, up pink clothing in dreams,
Hmm.
it actually fits with the rest of the dream. So dreams about pink clothes often symbolize a need for love, affection, or self-care,
Okay.
which it seems like fits this situation.
Sure.
And different shades of pink in dreams can represent various emotional states, obviously, from soft love to passionate energy. So it kind of goes into like she's really passionate about running, in the dream and in real life. So,
Yeah. Now the interesting thing is, if have you ever do you know what the word Peloton even means? I mean, besides being a company?
isn't it like a group
Yeah.
of bikes or
Yeah. So
something
like
like that?
finding support in a group. I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting because that stood out, that word, and it could be that she just likes the Peloton company, but it could mean even in deeper meanings, meaning that, she feels
Wow,
supported by
Mindy.
the group she is. It's like, and she did feel supported by this Spidey man. Like
Yes, I
and she had
love
to push
this.
the support, like, okay.
Oh, I love your thoughts on this. Yay! This is why I love talking to you
Same.
every single week. But she's still feeling, as she says, inept. But she still wasn't alone.
Yeah.
She didn't
Mm-hmm.
just have her co coaches. She had this Native American man hovering above her, wearing a suit of colorful feathers. Now, I don't want to get into it too much because there's so much in Native American
Right,
culture
of
that
course.
can just take me down a rabbit hole, and I didn't want to, but I just wanted to touch on a few things since she did mention specifically that he was in a feather outfit.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it in the past, but in the Native American culture, feathers are a symbol of honor,
Okay.
strength, wisdom, and a connection to the creator. So
Hmm.
we eventually find out that this mysterious figure is actually quite wise and connected to the earth. We talked about
Yeah.
the vortexes in Sedona,
Uh-huh.
just in general, his aura. And, he is admired. He is representing this kind of high honor
Sure.
in real life because everyone is talking about him and wants to like listen to his sage advice and just be around
I find it
him.
so interesting that in this dream, she didn't make that connection right away. It wasn't until she
Yeah.
was at the race and was like, this is the guy who has been supporting me and is that leader and is kind of that
Yes.
aura that
That
it's so interesting.
is so encouraging too because she's like, he was like, encourage me through my shittiest runs.
Hmm.
And I
Love
think
that.
that's
I love people like
loved
that.
it. Yeah. So the last thing I kind of want to cover with our Native American figure here is the hovering.
Okay. Yeah.
I think this kind of, at least to me, it was kind of a strong symbol that I think this symbolizes being watched over or protected by someone or something, a spirit or ancestor, just kind of like the Native American story goes. But the spiritual guidance, I think, is very important because the Native American culture often places great importance on dreams
Mm-hmm.
as a conduit for spiritual messages. So, seeing a Native American man hovering above you could signify that your subconscious is seeking guidance or insights from a spiritual source.
Okay.
And lastly, the higher perspective with the hovering, I was just thinking, like bird's eye view,
Yeah.
kind of looking in at yourself, indicating maybe you need to take a step back and take a look at your current life situation. But I know I said the last thing, but this is the last thing.
It happens.
Sorry. Finally, when he does speak to her and provide that sage wisdom in the dream, she can't hear him.
Oh,
So is
yes, I
there
forgot.
some kind of like lack of
Okay.
communication or miscommunication in her waking life
Yeah.
too that is triggering kind of this dream? So this may be where the actual dreaming part ends,
Mm-hmm.
but the story really does not end there.
No, not at
We
all.
have Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Only this is for real. It's not part of the dream, actually, which is
Yeah.
why I love it.
Yes.
Um, we've talked about it, but I feel like they were meant to meet in
Yeah.
dreams
Really.
and waking life.
Absolutely.
How else do you grab someone's attention other than standing out in a crowd in a Spider-Man outfit? Like it was meant for her to notice him. I really, really, really do. And he is kind of the hero figure to her in the advice he gives her and just his helping nature in general.
Yeah.
So
Love it. I
I'm
love
so
that.
happy she ended up talking to
I'm so
him.
glad to.
And what a blessing that they have crossed paths with each other, both
Absolutely.
in waking and dream life. So I thought it was lots of fun.
Agreed. Oh, I loved it. You always have the good stories, Brookie.
Our besties have the good stories, Mindy.
That's true. That's true. But you always pick the best of the besties.
Thanks, dear.
Well, it's that time of the episode where we get to know each other a little better. We're going to
Oh.
do our question of the week.
Oh boy, here we go.
Okay, so I had fun this week. I asked Chat GPT for some would you rather questions. And
Oh.
in true AI fashion, the entity that is ChatGPT knows that we're Revelations, a dream podcast. So here is what
Okay.
it asked.
Okay.
Would you rather
Oh God.
have the ability to control your dreams or be able to jump into other people's dreams?
Oh. Wow, this might be the toughest one yet, I think.
Thanks, chat.
Thanks. Gosh, that one threw me off a bit.
Right?
I don't know. I think it would be so cool to go into other people's dreams.
You feeling a
'Cause
little
well, you're
nightmarish on
in
Elm Street-ish these days?
these days, Mindy, don't
All
don't
days.
don't forget that I have talked about Nightmare on Elm Street many a
Yes.
time, especially Dream Warriors. We'll talk about number 3.
Okay.
Anyway, I just feel like you're in your own head so much of the time. Wouldn't it be nice to take a little trip somewhere else? Someone else's head?
Okay.
Someone else's imagination?
That's interesting. Okay. I never thought of it like that. Okay.
But also, as someone who's never been able to dream lucidly, it's not like I feel like I'm missing something
Mhm.
either. So that could be a variable I'm thinking maybe for you.
So you're going to answer the question for
I'm
me.
going
I
to answer the
appreciate
question
it.
for Mindy too.
Well, so are you going with other people's dreams?
Other
Okay.
people's dreams.
Well, that's interesting because I am going to go with more control of my own dreams. I
knew it.
want tonight, I want to be on a beach drinking a margarita with George Clooney. That's all. Like, come on.
You know
George
what?
Clooney on one side and, of course, my bae.
Okay, good. He's
Oh,
there?
no, not that one. I didn't mean Mark. I said Johnny Depp.
Oh,
Okay, Mark's there too. He's there too.
oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
glad he's
Whew,
there.
Thanks for saving me on that one.
No, I do love that idea though. Like
Or-
you could
Just traveling anywhere in the world. I could like go to
But I
Paris.
feel like I would never want to wake up though then.
That's true. That's also very true.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I love that question.
Yeah,
Sorry,
thanks.
AI.
I do. I
Loved
do love
it.
it.
I know.
It's something I wouldn't have thought to ask. So,
No, never in a million years.
all right,
So that's
Bestie.
awesome.
Bestie, if you want to get involved in this conversation, let us know what you'd rather do and answer our question of the week. And you can do that by joining our Facebook group. You can go to remelations.com/support for that link, or just search for Remelations Besties on Facebook. Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, because, I'm very curious to see what our besties are thinking on this one.
Yeah.
Can you pick which person's dream you're going into? Like, can I just I want to know, I want to jump into Mark's dreams tonight, or your dreams, or the president's
There was a
dream.
guy named Kincaid in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5.
You would know. Okay, go for it.
And she could call him into her dreams. And he was like this big dude, so it was almost like for protection too. So I'm wondering if it could be vice versa. Like you could say, I want to jump into but then that seems awfully personal.
Right? Can you open the door to other people joining your dreams?
Like,
or is it
like your mobile hotspot? Like you can unlock it if certain people know the password.
Right? But I don't want any rando joining my dream.
No, not joining my network. I loved it. I loved that question. Okay, Mindy, it's now time for catnaps. We love catnaps. This is part of the show where we just read a bunch of shorter dreams. Sometimes they're one sentence. Sometimes it's just a dream story. We just want to get through as many as we can, have a good time. We don't do too much analysis on these, but would you like to get us started, Miss Mindy?
Speaking of dreams you might want to jump into.
Oh,
we might want to jump in and experience Natalie's husband's dream. So Natalie wrote us. She is from Savannah, and she shared something crazy her husband dreamt.
I love it.
Okay. She starts. Okay, super weird, I know. But my husband just texted me out of the blue asking if I was feeling okay. I told him I'm fine, and he replied, good, and that he had a very strange dream last night. I asked what the dream was, and he said I was birthing potatoes.
Ooh, okay. Well, that sounds like easier than a baby, though. Unless it's a giant potato.
One
doesn't sound great.
Well, I don't know, Brooke. I don't know. One was stuck and tangled in my umbilical cord.
No, I don't like this. This is not going well.
But there were others that were just falling out. So
see,
the multiple
births. Talking about easy peasy, just dropping out.
She has like octuplets of potatoes.
She's like, oh, there's another one. Oh,
I wonder if
another one.
It's like one's baked, one's sweet, one's hash browns, one's French fries.
Different kind. It's like a cat litter. They all look a little different.
No. My husband was genuinely a bit unsettled by the dream, and I'm just plain confused. Could it be related to abundance or success, or should I take a pregnancy test?
Maybe all of the above.
Thanks in advance, y'all. Any advice would be much appreciated.
Wow, that is a good one.
I would like to jump into that dream, though, because that would be quite interesting.
Well, no one ever said we couldn't go back and examine a catnap further, but those short but sweet ones are also very fun. But yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
Abundance
Natalie.
It is. This is Richard, and he's from Freeport, Illinois. That's not too far from us, Mindy.
That's like right in between.
Right between us.
It's like our halfway meeting point.
Well, maybe we should pick Freeport instead of Rockford next time.
Oh, I think that's what we gotta do. Hashtag who likes Rockford anyways?
Oh no, we might get some responses.
It's better than Russia coming after us.
Yeah, we've had that before. Trust us. It was like within our first 5 episodes, we were sure Russia was listening to us. I dreamed of this thing in a nightmare, even a long time ago. I was in a gray forest where there were very tall trees, through the crowns of which is a very bright light breaking through. I met people who were dressed in rags that said, Harmless lives on.
Heartless?
But I don't know who it was. They told me that Heartless was harmless.
Oh wait, we just drop a letter and come up with a slogan?
I guess. Well, these people are dressed in rags. We're not really sure what's happening.
Nope.
Then I saw a distant village. I saw gray people sitting there looking like elves in cages.
Oh, I don't like that.
Normal people threw stones at them.
Not nice.
I was scared of this place and went further into the gray forest. But along the way, I noticed that it was getting quieter and darker. Then I saw a giant oak tree with a hole in it. I decided to go there.
Don't.
But there was.
Seems like a bad idea. Don't. Just don't.
Don't. Just stop. Wake up.
Mindy jumps into the dream, is like, wait, stop.
Mindy's like,
this is not a great idea.
You know who this reminds me of now are those State Farm commercials where you're like, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And then Mindy hops into your dream.
No. Do not go into dark forest. Do not go into a hole in a tree. Bad idea. Bad.
Well, it wasn't a hole in a tree, but it was a cave made of stone wood leading to a huge grotto. It was a horror. There was a creature sitting on a throne. It looked like a humanoid made of wood. It had 6 legs, a crown of thorns, a hand like a spear.
Jesus?
Jesus, is that you? This is a whole different picture.
I'm just saying, crown of thorns. It's the first place I'm going.
Well, I'm looking at the 6 legs made of wood part.
Good point.
It had elven ears, and it didn't have a heart. It only had an empty hole.
I don't like.
It pierced me with the spear it had as a hand, and then I realized this was Heartless. It was not harmless at all, but heartless. And then I woke up.
Wow. That took a turn at the end. So
very
funny.
emotional for Richard there.
Yes. I think he needs to really take his time and work on his word work.
Yes. Yeah. I would like maybe a little
slow down a little bit.
Grammarly could help that.
Could possibly
tighten it up.
Heartless, the heartless, Heartless, the harmless, Heartless?
Heartless, the heartless. Heartless is not heart. Let us know if you know about Heartless.
Let us send us your best tongue twister. We'd love to read it on the next episode. Brooke would love to read it on the next episode.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be me.
All right, next on my stack of papers, I have Isaac from Tempe, Arizona.
Ooh.
In my dream, I'm scheduled to have open heart surgery, and I'm really nervous about it.
Yeah.
That sounds like an awful dream. Awful.
Very, very stressful dream.
First of all, my family was responsible for getting me to the hospital, and we were almost late.
Well, I feel like that's something you'd be extra prepared for, like wake up super early.
Yeah, you kept fast.
Oh my God.
The hospital setup looked like my old high school. Not the cleanest location, and I was told the surgery itself took 10 years to complete.
Wow, that's a long one. So
I guess if you're a little late, it doesn't matter.
I guess not.
In time perspectives.
Wow, damn. That's a long time to be under anesthesia.
I don't think that's normal.
That's dangerous.
The next part of the dream was from the third person perspective, and I was watching the surgery. The surgeons were serious, but they also messed around a bit during the procedure. Things like pulling a fake doll version of me and putting it next to my body.
This is not funny.
How
much did they pay to have this replica made?
We got 10 years. We got time.
I guess.
And one of the surgeons also took a part of my heart and wore it around his head like a flowing bandana.
Not cool, bro. Not cool.
I think it's against the code of ethics.
Yes, I think so.
It turned out that my heart was perfectly fine, but The
Oh, jeez.
but the after was on someone's head.
Yeah, like after it's been ripped
It's got
apart
like
and
sweat on
worn
it.
as an
You're
accessory.
like, it's fine. Put it back in. Can I please return this heart? Do you have the receipt?
New with tags.
It turned out my heart was completely fine, but the rest of my organs looked like they were dying. When I
Oh,
woke up from the
no.
surgery, it was 10 years later.
Well, yeah,
My
that's how
boyfriend,
long the surgery takes.
not a minute less. My boyfriend showed me some new music that had come out since I went into surgery. I was trying to figure out why all of my organs and the rest of my body were in such bad shape, but my heart was fine. Later on, I was in a car with someone who wasn't my boyfriend, and we kissed. And it was
Uh,
so electric.
what? Speaking of dreams taking a turn at the end.
Your boyfriend, Isaac, waited for 10 years for you to get out of surgery.
Years.
And you just turn
Fuck
around.
you, Isaac. I'm sorry. Fuck
think
you, Isaac.
I think your heart is broken.
I think your heart is missing. I think more than just the little part that was worn
Is
on
it
your
still
head.
on the doctor's head?
Oh my God, go find it. Put it back in properly because that's wrong.
So wrong. Next,
Oh.
the police were behind us, which worried me. I didn't want to get pulled over. I was older than the person
Wait, they were kissing while the car was in motion?
Maybe it was a quick.
They're like making out, but they're
just
driving.
tongues on the side of their cheeks. I was older than the person I was kissing since it had been 10 years. Question mark? I don't know why
so
that's
she
going.
knew, or I'm sorry, so the person knew that person they were kissing from like 10 years ago?
No.
And they didn't age, but this person
Yeah, it
did?
seems like that's what Isaac
Okay,
said.
I'm just trying to follow along here.
We also stopped to get gas, and it was $200.
That's a lot.
And the reason the gas was so expensive, it was because a portion of the total amount had to go to Fidel Castro.
Oh, shit.
And
Well, what year was the stream?
And that's it. It was in 2012. I think he's awake now. If it was in 2020, he's still in surgery. It's a lot. It's a lot, Isaac. Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
Isaac. Okay. So, Mindy, my next dreamer is Jay, and he's from Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And of course, this is going to be a little different.
Always. Love it.
Let me just jump right into it.
Okay.
This dream has happened at least 4 times.
Mm.
The dream stopped a few months ago, but their pacing seems random. All my life, I've been hungry for love, and I've never been able to find it.
Why don't you find someone who just woke up from a 10-year surgery trip?
That's where you should be hanging out, like waiting for those.
Yeah,
they're ready
horny.
to go. They jump out of their surgery and they're ready to make out. But I keep meeting this woman over and over in my dreams.
Oh, okay.
She's always changing forms, but the archetype remains intact.
Okay.
When the dream stopped, I was desperate to get back to her. Oh,
love it.
I miss her, and I haven't seen her in months, and she's not even real, damn it.
Oh.
So he shared a couple of the dreams he's had, and they're pretty short, so I was just going to share a couple of them. I saw myself leaving a restaurant. I was headed for the parking garage, and it just so happened to be heading in the same direction as a woman in front of me. I was scared of creeping her out, but she didn't notice me. A second woman went ahead of her as well. The second woman leaves. Then, when I arrive at the garage, the first woman heads towards an elevator. Suddenly, I'm greeted by a woman with pink hair. She's cute, very sweet, and starts talking to me.
Okay.
We start playing board games together. She made me feel accepted and loved.
Oh.
I just think it's so cute because it's like in an elevator in a parking garage, but something so simple as playing board games and just, feeling that love and camaraderie.
Connection.
And, that connection, yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, so here's another one he had with Dream Lady. I dreamt I was in some movie made by British teenagers.
Okay.
I was playing someone hiding from some cops. It was a rainy day and I was outside a small shop. I had to hide under a blanket to evade the police, but I was with this woman who held me and cuddled me. I
Hmm.
remember how soft her voice was, and I felt so safe with her. She seemed so sweet too. I wish I could see her again.
Oh, I wish you could too.
Isn't it sad? Like,
I know. Just that longing for a connection or a partnership, and the only place you're getting it is a dream. That sucks.
and
Sucks.
to have such strong emotions to this person in the dream,
Yeah,
like, oh,
completely. That's
that
normal.
has,
It's not that it's unnormal. I don't want to come off to say that sucks and it's so weird. I think I see this a lot in dreams that are submitted. But I know we've read through some before that this this perfect person,
well,
your
of course.
dream weaver, your dream
Dream,
weaver.
you're a dream person, and that's why it's in a dream, right? But it feels so real for him. I know. Maybe it's just the way he writes it. It feels, it's not like a sex dream. It's not
No.
like, oh, I had been crushing on her. It's just this feeling of comfort and love
Yeah.
from this person. It's sweet.
It's sweet. Love it. All right. That brings us to Molly, and Molly's from Newport News, Virginia.
Oh yeah, Newport
I've
News.
never heard of Newport News. That's a cool
I
town
know, it
name.
sounds funny, doesn't it?
Welcome to the Newport News.
What do they say for the news? Welcome to the Newport News, news at 5.
The Newport News. Yeah, let us know. Let us know, Molly. How does your news station introduce itself? All right. I dreamt that my car, which was parked outside on the driveway, had been broken into.
Uh-oh.
At first glance, you could not tell it had been broken into. But when I went to get inside the car, I realized it was raining inside my car. Question mark? Exclamation point. Question mark? Exclamation point. Question mark. Exclamation. It's like, huh?
Yeah, that's not good thing to see.
I don't know if that's covered by insurance.
You're like, it's like a good neighbor. State Farm is there.
It's like
Mindy will be there in a jiff.
I'll be right there. Does that go under like natural disasters or under theft? Like, what's my deductible? I gotta check that policy.
You got to check you got to check the what is it called?
The fine print.
You got to check the fine print on that policy.
The slight drizzle was coming from the interior roof and affected only the back seat.
Well,
It was
thank
not
goodness
running.
for small miracles.
It was not raining in the front. However, when I went to check on the front seats, I noticed that the visors had been chewed on. Chewed on!
What? Oh dear.
As though I'm picturing a person, but then she goes, as though a rodent had chewed due to the bite marks left on them.
Oh dear. Oh
So now we have to check like the animal clause. Also,
there's lots of ways this policy could go.
right. Also, the floor mats had been removed, and what was left in their place was a dark green and black scarf made of some soft wool with delicate tassels. That's it.
That sounds right up my alley. Delicate tassels.
It doesn't seem like the best for a floor mat if it's raining, especially.
Right.
Wool to shrink. I don't know. There's so much with this dream.
Does wool absorb that much?
I don't know if I've ever seen a wool tassel.
I guess sheep stand out in the rain, but does a sweater hold up the same?
I'm gonna trade that car in. I am over that. That's going back to the dealership.
Something's wrong.
Hey, Bestie, if you haven't done it yet, we need you to tell somebody about the show. And I know we say this every week, but I really mean it this week. We need you to tell a friend, tell a stranger. Hell, I want you to call up Jake from State Farm or whatever, Sarah from Allstate or Betty from Liberty Mutual, and I want you to tell them about the show.
Emu.
Tell Limu Emu about this damn podcast. Because, Bessie, that's the best way we grow this show and how we keep going up in the charts is by you telling one person about us. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Limu Emu. And Doug. Oh, yeah, Doug. Tell Doug.
And Doug.
Tell Doug.
And tell Doug.
All of a sudden, that's interesting. Why do like all of them start? Now we have like Jake and Doug.
And Flo.
Flo.
How
Why?
do we forget Flo?
This is a conspiracy I think we're on to.
Flo's like the number one of them all.
Yeah.
And then we are
the Geico.
farmers.
What's the Geico's name?
Oh, the gecko?
Gecko. Yeah. Geico Gecko. The Geico Gecko.
And they've done it all.
Bestie, we don't have time to get into this. This is not an insurance podcast. This is a dream podcast. So that brings us to our topic. Are you ready for this week's topic?
You know I am. I'm always anxious to hear what you're going to talk about.
Well, Brooke, we're going back to 1967.
Woo! I love it.
We're talking the era of velvet bell-bottoms. The Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band album came out. Oh, the Monkees. I loved the Monkees. The Big Mac. The Big Mac was introduced in 1967.
Wow. Okay.
Faith Hill was born.
Oh, you know what? I think I knew that in Star, Mississippi.
And so was my husband. And if you want to guess how much gas cost in 1967, I'll give you a gold star.
67 cents.
31 cents.
I was just going for the year.
So it was a good year for everyone, but it was also the year that 51-year-old Winnipeg resident Stefan Mahalik will never forget.
Oh, this doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound like for a good reason they'll never forget. It sounds like it's going to be for a bad reason.
It was a Saturday in May when Stefan returned home early from a weekend prospecting trip, only to be rushed to an emergency room for injuries that would be later linked to one of Canada's most famous UFO encounters.
What?
An event known as the Falcon Lake Incident.
Ooh, that's a good incident.
Brooke, are you aware of this?
No. Well, not so far.
Okay, well, it might be familiar once I start talking about it, but
yeah,
this is a biggie. And I've been dying to do a UFO encounter since this podcast started, so
well,
yay.
Naturally.
Yay me.
Yay you. Didn't I do an alien thing?
Yeah, I think you talked about like
aliens
in a
and dreams.
Yeah. Oh yeah, aliens and dreams. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, something like that. But let's get to the UFOs.
Okay, it's time UFO time.
It's UFO time.
Oh, so my favorite resource for this topic was a podcast on the Canadian Library of Archives website, where they interview Stan Mihalik, who is the son of Stefan, about what happened to his father. And of course, all the documents are well preserved in the Canadian government regarding this incident. So unlike the US, where we like to cover up things, this encounter was so well documented that I think that's what caused the phenomenon of why people find this particular encounter so interesting. Was this made into a
movie, Mindy?
It was. It was made into several movies, actually.
I'm wondering if I'm going to know this by one of the Okay, let's just keep going.
You might.
Okay, because something is coming to me now. Like, it sounds familiar. But okay, let's go. I'm ready.
So our main character here is Stefan Mihalik. He was born in 1916 in Poland. He came to the United States and actually served in the U.S. Army during World War II.
Wow.
While his home country was being invaded. Yeah. So, can you imagine leaving your home country, coming to the United States, and then World War II breaks out, and then all of a sudden you have to go back and defend your home country as another country's I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's
a bad
lot.
time. Bad time.
Yeah.
After the war in 1949, he moved to Canada and settled with his family in Winnipeg, Manitoba. He lived there with his wife and 2 sons and 1 daughter. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to quote from Stefan tonight come from his 40-page manuscript entitled My Encounters with a UFO, or My Encounters with an UFO, published in 1967.
It's delightful. I've
I
read
do
it.
love saying it like that. I'm not gonna
It's an
lie.
easy read.
Yeah. In this manuscript, he started it by saying, we lived a happy, satisfied life as average Canadians, fully enjoying all the blessings this country is offering us. Stefan was employed as an industrial mechanic. He was also an amateur prospector.
Well, you did say he was out prospecting. I just didn't know that still happened as late as the late 60s.
Neither did I. As a sidebar, I had to go look. Okay, so here's the problem, Brooke. When we push back our recording by one day, Mindy is going down the rabbit hole of research. And so I'm going to try and make this a one-parter. I'm really going to try, Bestie.
But, Mindy, make it a two-parter. Your two-parters are the
you know what?
best.
But as a podcast listener, I hate two-parters. I hate it.
You do?
I do.
Oh my God, I'm so the opposite.
Really? Okay.
That's so funny. And I know you like the chit chat at the end. I like chit chat at the beginning.
Everyone's different.
It's so, I know, it's like, I just think it's so funny that we have really opposite tastes in
podcasts.
Our podcast too.
Habits?
But it's so, but I mean, we like the same whatever. Okay.
But speaking of prospecting, I did put sidebar. I did wrote sidebar. Is this still a thing? Question mark. I thought it ended in like 1849 with like the gold mining.
Rush.
But it still exists today in Canada. To be a staker, you must have a valid prospecting license. You have to be 18 plus, and your license is good for a lifetime and costs $10.
I don't think anything that's good for a lifetime is a good idea. I'm sorry. If you're prospecting, there could be very dangerous situations. I think maybe you should have to be reevaluated every once in a while to get your license.
I don't know if there's a course you have to take. Canadian besties, maybe? Let us know. But
our prospecting besties.
our dreaming prospecting besties from Canada. Yes, please weigh in. But Stefan, he enjoyed prospecting, and especially in the early spring in the woody, rocky terrain of eastern Manitoba. According to Stefan, he was taking advantage of a long weekend. It was a Canadian holiday on Friday, so he took a Greyhound bus to the White Shell area to prospect quartz and silver. It was about an hour and a half bus ride, just to kind of give you an idea.
Okay.
So let's talk about the location a little bit. Location, the name of this incident is called the Falcon Lake Incident. So
That's
Falcon
a cool
Lake.
Name. Falcon Lake. That's a cool name.
Falcon Lake is 94 miles east of Winnipeg, and it's nestled on the Ontario border. Okay. So I don't know. I'm not very good with my Canadian geography, but to give you an idea, Brooke, if you start in Des Moines, Iowa, and you drive due north for 11 hours, you're in Falcon Lake.
Got it.
Straight north of Des Moines.
Do that. Got it.
Yep. Falcon Lake is nestled in what's called the White Shell Provincial Park.
Provincial.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's nestled in the White Shell Provincial Park. It is a Class 2 protected area by the IUCN, the International Union of Conservation and Nature. It was declared a park in 1961. So if you think of the United States, it's like a state park here would be, or a national park would be. This is huge. This whole White Shell Park is 680,000 acres. And so,
isn't that all of Canada? Mostly that was just giant.
It is like a giant national park.
Giant national park all onto its own. Oh, I love Canada. Okay.
The area was initially populated by the Ojibwe people. And for thousands of years, the indigenous people used the area for harvesting wild rice, hunting, fishing, and of course, trade. Now, the terrain itself is made up of pink granite ridges. Brooke's favorite. She's like, I'm there.
Okay, sign me up. 11 hours? Is that how much?
11 hours just north. Cliffs, flat granite areas, and it was rich with copper and prehistoric quartz mining.
Okay.
Now, there are 3 rivers that flow through the park, forming a string of lakes, one of them being Falcon Lake. Nowadays, visitors enjoy the area with boating, canoeing, fishing, kayaking, all, ice skating, or I should say
hockey,
ice fishing, hockey, snowmobiling, skiing, all of that. Oh, and I went to their website about this park website, and here's the website motto. I always love mottos.
I was like, you really
I
did
do.
go into a deep
Thanks for pushing us off a day. All right.
Sorry.
The website motto is breathe in the outdoors.
Oh, I think that's lovely. If
Isn't
I
it?
like the outdoors, I would think, yes, sign me up, Falcon Lake.
Nowadays, it is dotted with resorts, restaurants. It has festivals and events. It looks like a lovely place. If I was ever in the area, I would definitely check it out.
Yeah.
But we're not there now. We are there in 1967.
Something tells me it's not going to be great then.
It was a Saturday.
As nice as it is now.
I mean, I can picture it would still be pretty like naturey. I mean, I'm sure that has not changed. So this is Saturday, May 20th, 1967. 5:30 a.m. is when Stefan left his motel and started out on his prospecting trek. According to him,
I have a heavy heart going into this. I don't know what's going on.
according to him, here's things that he carried with him that day. He said he had a
Okay.
hammer, a map, a compass, paper and pencil, and a little bit of food to get him throughout the day.
Where's his prospecting gear? All he has is a hammer? Where's his little pot or his little pan?
Well, I'm sure. I think river prospecting is different than rock prospecting. I don't know. I'm not a prospecting expert. I don't even know there was a license, but I'm over 18. I can get one. Only $10, Brooke. We should just do it just for the hell of it.
Let's say I am a licensed Canadian prospector.
Do you think they'd sell it to us? Like, do they let
and
Americans?
as U.S. citizens?
Yeah.
Maybe there is something in the U.S. we could do.
We can ask. Yeah.
I bet the Canadians would be like, oh, sure.
Oh, sure.
Oh, sure. You're so lovely. We love your podcast.
Oh my God. If someone said it to me in a Canadian accent, I'd die.
And then gave me a prospector's license. Oh.
And a hammer?
And a hammer.
Stefan remembers wearing also a light jacket because there was a chill in the air that morning. Now, again, going down my deep dive and loving weather like I do, of course, I looked at the historical weather data for that day.
Oh my God, Mindy.
And according to historical weather data, I think Canadian morning chill is different than like what I consider a morning chill.
Is it like negative?
It was 32 degrees as a low that morning. And only a high of 52. So that's...
Mindy, we experience weather like that.
I know, but like I wouldn't call that a morning chill. I'd call that like winter.
Yeah, I call it winter, but it's Canada, which is like winter.
Yeah, it's May.
It's pretty far north.
Stefan remembers it being a bright and sunny day, not a cloud in the sky.
Lovely.
And I'm going to read a couple quotes from here because I really feel like that's where you get the most of the experience. So according to Stefan, he says, quote, "It seemed just like another ordinary day. But events which were about to take place within the next 6 hours were to change my entire life more than anyone could ever imagine. I will never forget May 20th, 1967.
Okay.
So Stefan is 51 at this time. He left the motel and started walking across the highway into a pine forest just on the north side of the highway. It was about 9 a.m. he found the area he was interested in because of the rock formation of this location. It was near a bog, which is also near a stream. He's like, that looks like some good prospecting right here.
I love a bog.
Now, mind you, this is like 3.5 hours into the hike. So it's not like... It's not close to the motel. This man is like hiking.
He's deep in it. That sounds bad.
It was 11 a.m. when he stopped and decided he was hungry since he had not eaten breakfast and sat down and started eating a small meal. Now, Brooke, I want your opinion of what you how do you rate this meal?
Oh God.
It was of smoked sausage, cheese, bread, an apple, 2 oranges, and a cup of coffee.
Seems pretty healthy.
I think it sounds pretty good.
I mean, I would maybe like not just cheese without anything to go with it.
Well, he had smoked sausage and bread.
Oh, did he make a Sammy out of it?
Made a little Sammy and some bread.
He made a Sammy?
The coffee,
okay.
Of course.
Yes.
So about an hour and 15 minutes later, he noticed a few clouds had began gathering in the west.
Oh, God.
He was busy and interested in chipping away at this quartz vein that he had just found. So I just imagine him like hunched over, like I don't know what you do, how you
He's
prospect.
not
He's got like
even,
a
he's just
hammer.
focused.
He's focused.
He's got his hammer and prospecting license.
That's all you need. All of a sudden, Stefan was startled by a flock of geese who became agitated by something nearby that had triggered them.
Uh-oh.
Whew. And this is when Stefan saw them. And I want to read this directly from his manuscript.
Please do.
Because I feel like this part is so. I'd rather read it from the mouth of the person who experienced it, because
Absolutely.
years and years and years later, it's taken and taken again and taken again. It's like telephone, like nothing's exact. And so here's
It gets
exactly what he said.
convoluted.
Exactly. So here's what Stefan wrote: 2 cigar-shaped objects with humps on them about halfway down from the sky. They appeared to be descending and glowing with an intense scarlet glow. As these objects came closer to Earth, they became more oval-shaped. They came down at the same speed, keeping a constant distance between them, appearing to be as one inseparable unit, yet on each completely separate from each other. Suddenly, the furthest of the 2 objects...
Can I intercept for just a moment? There have been lots of sightings, encounters, and probably many, many before 67 that I don't even know of, but this seems pretty early on, and the cigar shape is something that has, to this day, continued, and melding of shapes and working together. Like, so this is pretty early on to have quite such detail that still exists today.
Yes, I agree with you. Okay. They came down at the same speed, keeping constant distance between them, appearing to be as one inseparable unit, yet each on completely separate from the other. Suddenly, the farthest of the 2 objects stopped dead in the air while its companion slipped down closer and closer to the ground and landed squarely on the flat top rock about 160 feet away from me.
Landed or crashed?
Landed.
Okay.
It seems too close, in my opinion, to where I would like to be.
I'd be like, he's on foot too, right?
Yep.
Like, just turn around. Just pretend like you didn't see anything.
Yes. I think looking back, that's what he'd rather have done. The object, and I say object with air quotes, the object that had remained in the air hovered approximately 15 feet above me for about 3 minutes and then lifted skyward again.
We got hovering in our dreams tonight.
Yes. As it ascended, its color began to change from bright red to an orange shade, then to a gray tone. Finally, when it was just about to disappear behind the gathering clouds, it turned bright orange.
Oh, bright orange always seems like up to red, like higher, it gets hotter. Risk.
My astonishment at and fear of the unusual sight that I had just witnessed filled my senses and made me lose all realization of time.
Nope, loss of time.
Oh, it's never good. Mulder told me that's not good.
Mulder told us, we learned.
Then my attention was drawn back to the craft that had just landed on the rock. It too was changing color, turning from red to gray red to light gray, and then to a color of hot stainless steel with a golden glow around it.
Whoa!
I began watching the craft intently, ready to record in my mind everything that happened. I noticed an opening near the top of the craft and a brilliant...
Nope! Don't do it.
And a brilliant purple light pouring out of an aperture. The light was so intense that it hurt my eyes when I looked at it directly. Unable to move from the rock, I decided to watch it.
Hey, Mindy.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I gotta stop asking these questions.
No.
Do you still have to use apertures and stuff to this day?
Or
is it
photos?
All just like, yeah?
Yeah, we use aperture all the time.
Oh, well, I just didn't know if it was like kind of all automatic now, or if you had to.
So we shoot on manual. So we set the ISO, the aperture, and the shutter speed for each portion of the day, or like each lighting situation, I should say.
Don't you love having me as a friend who's like,
Hey,
hey,
squirrel!
hey, aperture. Yeah, I know what aperture. Do you use aperture?
We do. Okay. And next, Stefan goes on to talk about all the senses that I think, which is a very interesting take on it. All the senses and how each of the senses took in this moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He smelt sulfur.
Ugh.
Which if you don't know, it
He
kind of
smelled
smells like
farts.
rotten eggs.
Farts.
Yeah. He felt warm air being emitted. He could hear the sounds of a whirring motor and the hissing sound of air being sucked into the interior of the craft.
Might you have to go and take a look.
Now, more than anything, our pal Stefan wished that he had a camera. Speaking of apertures, he wished he had
Speaking of apertures, did he have a...
I mean, I would at least not drop it below like an F8.
F8?
I
F8
know.
for sure.
Because if you go F2, you're going to get you have to
doing
really
a
shallow.
step up or a step down, and you're not going to get
F22 if you can. But, I mean, it was a bright day. You could probably go to F22.
Wow. And what kind of glass did he have?
I wonder.
Or did he want
to
to have?
He didn't have a camera, Brooke. But he did remember the pencil and paper he had brought. And he made a sketch at that exact time of what he saw.
God bless.
Can I show you this picture?
Of course.
I'm going to text it to you so you can share with our bestie what you see in this picture. Okay, I'm sending this to you now.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, Mindy. Okay.
It's very
this is
neat.
It's a beautiful
writing.
drawing. It's very coolly. It's like a sketch.
Yeah, it's a sketch.
It's a sketch. But I can't read any of the words.
I mean, I see like he's got some dimensions, like 34 to 40 feet. Looks like on the top.
He's got some notes around
door.
it, but it looks like your typical what you would think of a UFO, kind of round,
saucer shaped
with some dimensions and some notes. But I can't read.
I mean, I just can imagine like being of the mindset, like, let me grab my paper and pencil and scratch this out real quick.
The fact that he even just had that.
I mean, I understand if you're trying to make a map of where you were prospecting. I mean, I can understand because you gotta think this is time before cell phones. Like, how else are you documenting like how you got?
No,
somewhere?
You're absolutely right. He did mention at the beginning what he was bringing with him, and it was a paper and a pencil, and I'm sure there was a reason for that, and I'm sure he didn't expect it to be sketching a UFO.
He's like, let's pack this so I could document my horrific time
just
later.
In case.
Okay, at this point, Stefan thought that what he was looking at was an American space project of some sort and began looking for insignias on the craft. But he didn't see any. Quote, I was most interested in the flood of lights that poured out of the upper reaches of the craft. The light, distinctly purple, also casts various shades. In spite of the bright midday sun, the light cast a purple hue on the ground. I was forced to continually turn my eyes away from the light. So Stefan approached this craft after he finished his sketch, approached it closer and closer. And from what we see on the sketch, he said it had a height of 15 feet and a length of about 34 feet.
It's pretty big. It's like a school bus, right?
That's pretty, yeah, I guess.
I mean, lengthwise.
Sure.
Widthwise, it's much smaller, but like it's big size.
As he approached, he heard the sound of human voices. They were muffled in sort by the motor. So this is why he's thinking it's a man-made American, perhaps, test experimental
because he hears a motor,
vehicle.
like a motor, yeah.
And he heard voices, and he thought it was like it was something he had recognized. He heard two distinct voices, actually, one being higher pitched than the other.
Had he been taken before? And these were familiar voices? Oh.
He figured, again, like this craft was from Earth. And so being the polite Canadian that he was, wanting to offer help, he said, quote, okay, Yankee boys, having trouble? Come on out and we'll see what we can do about it.
Oh, no, that sounds like for an alien race who doesn't want to be called a Yankee boy.
Well, considering, like, if you thought I was American, I mean, what do
I know, I get it,
Canadians
but
call
like
us
if
Yankee boys?
I don't know, but even like I can't say his tone, but it's like, all right,
Yankee
it kind of
boys.
sounds like threatening almost, like, bring it to me, boys, I'll help you.
Okay, interesting, because I took it
Like,
as like, hey, can I help, Yankee
I'm
boy?
sure that's what it was. I'm sure that's what it
Well, either way, there
was.
was no answer. Stefan, being a multilingual person, he was born in
Oh,
Poland,
oh,
tried
that's
asking
right.
in Russian, German, Italian, French, and Ukrainian as well.
Okay, I didn't know he was that well
Crazy.
versed in foreign
Yeah.
languages
I guess a lot of people who are born in Europe
in Europe.
have
Yeah.
multiple languages that they at least can somewhat speak or understand. We're just
Yes.
Americans. We don't care, obviously.
We're ignorant.
Stefan walked closer, and he was finally directly in front of the craft, and he decided to take a look inside.
Mm.
Quote, standing in the beam of light was too much for my eyes to bear. I was forced to turn away. Then, placing green lenses over my goggles, I stuck my head inside the opening.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I know.
Where did
This wasn't listed as inventory, but he does talk about his manuscript. Like when he's prospecting and chipping away, he has like safety goggles on, I guess.
Okay, I was gonna be like, where did these
Yeah.
green
No,
goggles
because when you
come from?
when you try to like hammer quartz, it might, he's he's a safe man. So we got to make
He
sure he's got, he has
I
gloves.
appreciate his safety, but I was just
Yeah,
like,
no, not everything was listed in the inventory in the beginning. I
Okay,
apologize.
got it,
Okay.
got it, got it.
Inside was a maze of lights, direct beams running horizontal and diagonal paths, and a series of flashing lights. It seemed to me they were working in random fashion with no particular sense or order.
Mm.
It was at this point Stefan had taken a step back and noticed the thickness of the craft. He described it as a 20 inches thick in the cross section.
That's thick.
That's like a thick wall. That's a thick craft.
That craft got body.
She's a curvy craft.
A curvy craft.
I like my crafts thick and curvy.
Like a little something you can hang on
A little
to.
pushing for the exploration cushion. Sorry. It was then that the door seemed to seamlessly shut. Stefan then noticed a small screened pattern on the side of the craft that looked like a ventilation system.
Mm.
Quote, I approached the craft once again and touched its side. It was hot to the touch. It appeared to be made of a steel-like substance. There were no signs of welding or joints to be seen anywhere. The outer surface was highly polished and looked like colored glass with light reflecting off of it.
Again, information was that fully available to the layman back in 67? Because these are still things that are very
specific,
big details to this day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, fascinating.
It formed a spectrum with silver background as the sunlight hit the sides. I noticed I had burnt my gloves that I was wearing at the time when I touched the side of the craft. All of a sudden, the craft tilted slightly leftward. I turned and felt a scorching pain around my chest. My shirt and my undershirt were afire. The sharp beam of heat had shot from the craft. I tore off my shirt and undershirt and threw them to the ground.
This isn't Fire in the Sky, is it?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, it's a movie. I can't get stuck. Something's itching me. Like, I can tell.
This is like so popular.
God, okay.
When I looked back at the ship, I felt a sudden rush of air around me. The craft was rising above the treetops. It began to change color and shape, following much the same pattern as its sister ship when it returned to the sky. Soon, the craft had disappeared, gone without a trace.
Seems like he got away pretty easy, though.
No.
Besides some burns.
Wait.
and-
That's not great.
Oh, no.
Stefan had stumped out his smoldering clothes. So not to start the whole forest on fire as it had been a dry year, he noted. He picked up his belongings and noticed the needle of his compass was whirling around completely out of control.
Nope.
I know
Nope.
that detail killed me. It killed me. That detail out of all this. I'm like, oh. Yeah.
We know that's not good.
Not
We know
good.
that's not good.
Seconds later, it became still working normally again. But, yeah, well, just the fact that happened. He then went over to examine the place where the craft had rested. He immediately felt nauseous, and his head began to ache, and he broke out into a cold sweat. The spot itself looked like it had been swept with a broom. There was no twigs or no bits of stone, nothing. Just a ridge about 15 feet in diameter that was 6 inches deep. Like, kind of like, if you think about it, like just, if you sweep and push everything out to this, like you make one big circular and it's like a little mound around it. That's what he was explaining. Yeah. Stefan throws up. He knew at that point something was very, very wrong. Yeah, this is hard. Okay, so we'll call this part the walkout. The walkout. Stefan grabbed what he could. He put his jacket over his chest and went back in the direction he had came from. His compass, although working again, was useless because he couldn't see straight. He continually stopped to vomit. He stopped at a creek to splash his face with water and eventually had to take off the jacket as it rubbed against the burns of his skin. So here he is, like stumbling half naked around this forest, trying to find any civilization. He's completely discombobulated. I mean, you're in the woods of Canada.
It's thick.
Who knows?
It's
like, if
dangerous.
you're not right in the right direction, like you could never be.
You're done. Again. You're done. No, you're gonna be lost in a hot second.
And he recalled praying just to find civilization. He knew he needed help. Stumbling, half naked, he finally reached the highway, and he realized he was about a half a mile from the Falcon Lake entrance gate. He also knew that there was an RCMP station at Falcon Lake. Brooke, do you know what the RCMP is?
Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
You got it. Brooke knows her international police terms, acronyms.
I have to be on top of it for all my international crimes.
It's true. So he knew if he got to the station, he would be able to get some help. Now here's where the story kind of ends with his just narrative and starts being picked up by other people. So the time is about 3:00. So if you remember back, it was about 11:15 when
PM.
AM.
Oh, it was the morning.
Yeah,
That's
when
right.
he stopped
which is
and had
so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he stopped and had
a
lunch.
late breakfast.
Right. So it was about the time. So we're talking like a good 3 hours later almost that he's coming out of these woods. Now,
which is impressive.
I'm going to read 2 accounts of this next part. One is Stefan's account and one is the constable's.
Okay.
So on Stefan's account, he says, one cruiser passed him by. He waved his arms, trying to get attention, and they just drove by.
Oh!
And here's the best quote ever. He says, quote, I was amazed at their apparent indifference to my signaling.
Yes, I would be surprised too.
I feel like that term can be used in so many different ways throughout life.
Can we make a t-shirt?
Indifferent to my signaling.
Indifferent to my
Sometimes
signaling.
I feel my husband is indifferent to my signaling I'm trying to give him. I really do.
I think this could be a hot seller.
Apparent indifference to my signaling. Okay. He says, I kept stumbling along when I heard a voice from behind me, and it was a constable. I told him what had happened. I warned him not to come close, as I was afraid of what he might be exposed to, such as radiation.
Sure.
And here's, I kind of stopped and thought a moment about this, because I'm like, well, how would you know it's radiation? But then again, I'm like, this dude was in World War II. I think he probably understands the effects of, like, because I was like, wait,
radiation.
How can some random person know, like, what the symptoms are? But knowing his background, it does make a bit of sense.
It does. It does.
Stefan asked the constable for medical aid, to which the constable replied, quote, according to Stefan, "Sorry, but I have duties to perform here," and he left.
What a dick constable.
Right.
Sorry, I love the title constable, but that's a dick constable.
Now, this is not now this is again where the story does not line up, because the highway patrol officer, Constable G.A. Solotsky, has a different story. He says, Stefan flagged him down and seemed excited, and he had told him he had seen 2 spaceships and that they glowed red and were rotating where he had seen them. He said he had been burned. I saw his eyes were bloodshot. He was behaving frantic and he was acting confused. Every time I approached Stefan, he backed away and he didn't want me to come near him. And the constable at some point in the report said, quote, "I cannot smell the odor of liquor, a maholic. That is a point in his favor, that he may have been appeared inebriated, but he did not have the indication of drinking." Now, the other thing that was not in this report, so like that's the thing I love about the Canadian information website that I found, is they have like the typed up reports from 1967, which I again read all of them. Why not?
Started reading.
Why not? But this was not in the report, but I did find it in later things. So I'm just wondering if it came from another report I didn't see. But this constable also said that Stefan's hat and shirt were burned right off. And when he asked to see the shirt, Stefan refused and said he didn't want the publicity. When he did show the constable, he said he saw that there were marks on his chest that looked like marks that were caused by rubbing ash onto the skin. And he had a burn on the back of his hat, but no burn marks on his head.
What?
And he also seemed very uncooperative.
Oh, feisty one.
So I don't think this constable, I think he was very skeptical of the story.
It sure seems that way.
But then again, like, wouldn't you be a little discombobulated if you just walked out of a forest seeing an UFO, a UFO?
An UFO, I would totally be. And I'd be like,
I would be rambling. I would be
it's 1967 and I'd be confused because it's like, I haven't seen UFOs on TV my whole life, you know, like, and news stories or anything like that. This is like, what the fuck did I just experience?
Yeah, and he's in pain. He's in physical pain.
He's burnt. One of the worst pains there is.
Now, here's the most interesting point. According to this report, it goes on to say that the constable offered him a ride and Stefan declined, saying he was all right. Where we just read in Stefan's thing, he was left there and not offered any sort of assistance. So I don't know here. It's very interesting. So finally, I don't know what, like, again, it doesn't seem like he got a ride. Stefan made it to the Falcon Motor Hotel.
Oh, boy.
And just as a side note, I said I believe Stefan more in this story because constables can be constables.
Constables can be assholes. No, I'm just kidding.
Stefan made it back to the motel. He said, "The pain in my head reached the limits of human endurance by this point." Which, that quote right there, yikes.
That gave me chills.
He said the odor of sulfur exuded from him. Like it came from the inside. He must have went to his room for a little while. Next thing we know, at 4:00, he went to the restaurant and asked the waitress if a doctor was available. He was told the resident doctor was not going to arrive until July.
What? And this was
small,
May?
This is a small area, Brooke. This is like a motel.
Okay.
And the nearest doctor was 45 minutes east in Lenora, Ontario.
I'd be like, get me to Lenora ASAP.
Well, see, that's the problem because Lenora is the opposite way of his hometown of Winnipeg.
I don't care. Go to Lenora.
So here's what he did. He returned to his room.
Oh,
now,
God.
here's something he did mention. He did call the newspaper. And this does bring up some speculation whether this is true or not, like why I call the newspaper. But according to Stefan, he says, regardless of what people think, something happened to me and I was worried about other people in the area. And I thought
Oh.
nonetheless, it was something that had to be reported.
Oh,
So, which
wow.
I can understand.
I love that though, because so many times things go unreported.
Yeah. Well, the newspaper wasn't open, so it was Saturday. No one's there, so no one answered the answering machine, I guess, call.
In 1967, you think there's
Is
the
there answering
answering
machines?
machine
I
pick?
don't know. 60.
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
When did that come out? Maybe.
Question. Nonetheless, the one thing he didn't want to do right away was call his wife because he didn't want her to panic. And so he only wanted to
Oh,
call her at the last resort.
I get that kind of
Yeah, like he's
thing.
like, maybe I can take care of this. I don't know what happened, but maybe I can see a doctor. No, that's not available. Like,
Yeah, let's
oh, okay,
not
I
get
should probably call my
everybody
wife.
worked up until we
Yeah,
need to.
I get it.
Yeah.
I do. But he did end up calling his wife, and he only told her that he got burned and gave her no other details.
Okay.
He then arranged to take the Greyhound bus back to Winnipeg and arranged to meet his son Mark at the bus depot.
Okay.
So the bus didn't come for like 4 hours. So poor Stefan's just the amount of pain he says in his manuscript he was feeling. It just sounds like the most awful thing. Eventually, he just goes to the Greyhound station because he's like, I couldn't sit in the hotel anymore. I don't want to affect anyone. He's talked about like sitting in the back of the bus because he didn't know if he was like radioactive. He
Oh
was
my
very worried
God.
about
He's
other
thinking
people.
about other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He arrived in Winnipeg about 10:15 p.m. and his son Mark took him to the emergency room at the, I'm going to say this wrong, Misericordia Health Care Centre for his injuries, and it was admitted to the emergency room.
Okay, good.
A doctor examined him and gave him a sedative. Thank God. Get me like 5.
Knock me the fuck out.
The doctor observed burns on his abdomen. The burn area was approximately 1 foot in diameter
Oh,
on his chest.
that's a big burn.
The hair on his upper chest was singed and burned. There was burns on his stomach, chest, and pretty much matched with his story of what he saw. There was a grid-like pattern of raised sores.
Oh.
First-degree burns. When he was questioned how he received the burns, he said it was exhaust from an airplane. Now, this, again, comes another point of contention in his story. A lot of people kind of peg this as like, why are you lying? But he goes on later to explain that in his manuscript that there was a language barrier. The doctor was of Chinese descent, and English wasn't even Stefan's first language. So he was from Poland. So it was two people that weren't native English speakers. So I think at some point he's like, it was just an airplane burn.
Yeah, like you have to come up with something like it's an airplane burn.
Yeah,
Or,
like, how do you
something
even
that can be the most similar thing
they
possible.
explain it? Sure. I mean, that makes sense to me. He was later released and he was told to follow up with his family doctor. He went home, bathed, took a sedative, and went to bed.
Good job.
He was hoping tomorrow would be a better day.
Oh, Mindy, how you say that makes me think it's not gonna be.
It wasn't. Although the vomiting subsided a bit, he had no appetite, and even small bits of tea would make him start to vomit again. He would see like flashing like light spots in his vision. He had relentless headaches and prolonged bouts of diarrhea, blackouts, and weight loss over the next few days.
Wow.
Yeah, no, not good. I don't know what you're prospecting, but that quartz ain't worth that.
No, stop. Get a new hobby, because that was just like his hobby, wasn't it?
Yes,
It wasn't
exactly.
even his.
No, it's like take up cross stitching or frisbee golf. I don't know, something
Frisbee golf
that doesn't require you to be alone in a forest,
right?
So the next day, a newspaper reporter from the Tribune, who must have got the message either left on the answering machine or else how, a newspaper reporter and a photographer got the message and came from the Winnipeg Tribune the next day.
Okay.
Which he told his story. After giving his experience to the newspaper, it was day 2 when his wife called the family doctor, Dr. Otway. Up until then, Stefan said he was a healthy 180 pounds. He had never been really sick in 25 years. He only went to the doctor for regular insurance checkups, but he told the doctor he was unable to eat. The doctor prescribed him seasickness seasickness pills, which I find interesting, that seem to help his headaches and his nausea.
Nice. It's like a
But why
modern day
seasickness
migraine.
pills? Motion sickness. Like,
Because your stomach gets upset when you're seasick.
motion? Did he go anywhere?
Motion
remember?
sickness.
I don't know. So this is when the news craze begins, of course. So Stefan's story appeared in the Winnipeg Tribune days later under the title, quote, "I was burned by a UFO." Eventually, the story was picked up internationally with major networks covering it. Stefan said, a quote, "I was afraid, I think, of ridicule more than anything else. Press investigations did not stop at my own home. Reporters reached out to my friends, my neighbors, asking if they thought I was a stable person, whether I drank a lot, and whether I had been the type to brag or boasted a lot." So day 3, this is when the police come to talk to him. So it was only after he had talked to the newspapers, the story got released, that the police were like, "Oh, well, maybe we should check this story out."
Yeah, well, maybe I've been trying for 3 days.
I know, maybe I tried to flag down a constable. It was a dick to me.
Do you know him, Constable Dick?
It was Tuesday, May 23rd at 10:30 a.m. when Constable Zacharias came to Stefan's home to take a statement. Also present at the house that was Barry Thompson. He was a member of the APRO, the Aerial Phenomenon Research Organization.
Oh, okay.
A civilian group
good old APRO.
The APRO, a civilian group that investigates UFO sightings. The 3 of them talked for about 2 hours. According to Zachary, the constable, from the onset, Stefan was very uncomfortable physically. He was unable to keep food down. He had told me he had lost 13 pounds since the incident.
In 3
days.
Best
Eek.
diet ever.
Just need an UFO diet.
UFO diet.
He also explained the story to the investigators and mentioned the taste in his mouth was like burned wiring or insulation, and it was bothering him a great deal.
Yeah.
They also talked 2 hours the following day.
Oh.
And so, and overall, this event was investigated not only by the RCMP, Brooke, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, but it was also
the Mounties.
Yeah, also the Royal Canadian Air Force and the U.S. Air Force actually came out to investigate.
Oh, how nice of them.
Eventually, Stefan would admit that he enjoyed talking to the investigators more than the media. I get it. After the interviews, the mounted police wanted him to go to the site a few days after their interview. His doctor said no, he wasn't fit, and they said, well, at least draw us a map. Give us something. According to Stefan's son, Stan, who was 19 at the time, he said, Dad took a piece of paper and he sketched a site map of the actual site. He did it from 2 perspectives. He did a plain view and an overhead view. And then he did it from a sectional view to show the changes in elevation, which was typical for my dad because he was just that kind of guy. And that's the kind of skills he had. He's like, okay, I'll draw you a map. And he draws like 3 different perspectives.
Like a topographical map.
No wonder. I mean, he was obviously from that sketch you saw. He's a good sketcher.
He is. Yeah, he is a good sketcher.
Eventually, Stefan was able to go back to the site. Even with this map that Stefan had drawn, the investigators couldn't find his spot. They even took helicopters up in the sky to try to find it. Still couldn't find it. It wasn't until Stefan was able to join the search. I couldn't tell if it was weeks later or years later he went back to the site. I saw varying accounts of this, but when they did find the site again, the map was exactly how he had drawn it.
Damn!
So he wasn't trying to be like, sketchy with it all. Sketchy. They're like, it was an exact map. We just weren't in the right area. Everything lined up perfectly. So let's talk about the site analysis a little bit, Brooke.
Okay.
The spot was still visible when I did come across it. There was a 15-foot circle of burned vegetation in the site where Stefan had claimed the landing occurred.
Yeah,
just as he explained in his statement.
Tracks.
The presence of highly radioactive elements within the soil samples were also noted. And to fast forward a bit, his clothing, his shirt, eventually did get sent off for testing, and they did also find radioactive samples on his shirt.
Yikes. So maybe when he was traveling with the public on that bus or plane
He's
or
like, I
whatever
did
it was,
feel bad.
maybe he was
Yeah.
radioactive.
There's also a piece of metal that was found to be superheated in the area that was like forged into the cracks of the rocks where he was. And
Oh,
that also exhibited high levels of radioactivity. I'll send a picture of this as
yeah.
well, and I'll post it in our Facebook group. But it's like a piece of metal that looks like a W almost. Like it still exists. It's still radioactive today.
Shut up.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
So, the end of all these investigations, all these different outlets that were investigating it, these agencies just kind of shrugged and was like, we don't know what happened.
Sorry.
Like, we have
No
no
clue.
idea. Although it does seem that Stefan appeared to be suffering from a, quote, unknown illness, unquote.
Maybe an extraterrestrial unknown illness.
So after the investigation was over and the media outlets had packed up and gone home, it was just Stefan and his family back at the house, but the effects were still felt.
Oh.
Stefan's health effects were still very long lasting, and this is honestly extremely sad. He eventually sought help from the Mayo Clinic, which is in
Okay.
Rochester, Minnesota, in the US, where they did mental tests to make sure he was a sound mind. They did note that his white blood cell count fell to lethal levels, like when they drew his blood at the hospital
Oh.
afterwards. The event was consistent with radiation poisoning, and he continued to suffer intermittent. Okay, hear this. This is crazy. He continued to suffer intermittent reappearances of his burns that
What?
never
They would just come come back through his skin?
until the day he died at age 83 in 1999. These burns would reappear.
Shut up.
Yes.
Okay, people, that
No.
doesn't happen.
No.
That's just not a normal
An
occurrence.
80-some-year-old that's like, yep, they're back. Like, what? If he was bullshitting, like, why play that game that long?
Right. And why pick such a
Painful.
painful thing, right?
No. So this case is very popular, like I said, and it's probably due to the fact that these records are all public. Like I said, I pulled up the
Yeah.
constable's report. You can see the typed report from June 5th, a few days afterwards. Unlike like Roswell here in the US, where no one found
zip.
anything, and then
Yes, no, everything is tight-lipped
nothing,
here.
nothing.
Mhm.
Going back to the beginning, there was a podcast I was listening to that was on this website where Stefan's son, Stan, and his friend from actually back when he was that age, like a grade school friend who's now a UFO hunter, were featured on Unsolved Mysteries. So just to bring it all the way around, Brooke. So this was featured in season 5, episode 8, and then it premiered in 1992.
I probably watched it and I was probably terrified.
I probably watched it with my mom. I'm sure
I
was
watched
terrified.
Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah, and it scared the shit out of me.
Scared. I would hate going to bed after the alien ones. I would hate going in my own room.
Yeah, there were some upsetting ones.
But when he was asked like why they did it, because again, skeptics are like, well, did you do it for publicity, money? And he said one of the reasons that him and his dad and his friend decided to go on the show was to find more witnesses from that day that could corroborate the story.
Wow. Okay. Someone else had to have seen it, right? Even though it was like kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but like,
so yeah, that brings
a chance.
It brings up a good point. So with this well-known case also comes a great deal of skepticism. So here are a few of the skeptics' takes.
Okay.
1, Stefan had been drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, there is a Royal Canadian Air Force squadron leader named Paul Bestie. There's always one of those assholes that believe that Stefan was hallucinating from consuming alcohol the night before the incident.
That doesn't really explain just hallucinations, but burns and radioactive
Exactly.
material on your body and
Exactly.
clothing.
Now, and I did read a report that said that they did go back and interview the motel restaurant, and they said he was in the bar. He did have, I think it was like 3 beers, and he left for a couple hours and came back and had 2 beers the night before. So we're talking
Okay.
5 drinks,
This
a
is not
good
going to
12 hours before this
these
incident.
hallucinations.
That one just like, I'm like, what? No.
Oh, man.
So another skepticism is that he made up the story so others wouldn't prospect his site. I mean, it seems like a
Was it
lot
that
to go
a good, was it such a good prospecting site?
exactly. Like he didn't like get millions off this quartz vein or whatever he found.
No.
It doesn't seem like
No.
they were living beyond their means at any point in their lives.
No.
Okay. Well, then there was this guy named Sam Hunt whose theory was he just stole the radium and planted it.
Oh, well, you know.
Now, Sam,
It's so easy to steal radium and so easy to implant it into yourself.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
fun. Sounds fun.
It sounds great. Where do I want to have permanent burns
No.
that go away and come back for the rest of my life?
Yeah, no. He
Hmm.
went to disposal sites trying to prove like he had stolen it or brought him with it. He even went through his work history in any medical facilities he might have worked in to see if it was stolen and it was planted. Like this guy was like hell bent that this guy stole it and like devoted years of his life to like prove it. But again, it was not proven.
No.
Now this is the most credible one I think I can maybe get behind is the land itself, that there's a radium vein near the site. And this is true. There's a radium vein near it.
Okay.
And that was an allergic reaction to it. I don't know. Like I can believe that, but why the whole story? Why
the UFOs? Why the specifics of the colors, the shapes, the lights?
Why travel like 3 hours of hiking just to like why don't you like if you're gonna make it up, do it like on the side of the road, like near the hotel.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a lot of work.
Make it convenient.
And then like the thing you mentioned, Brooke, is the witnesses. People question why there were no other witnesses. It was only a few miles off the highway, and it was also next to a fire tower. So if someone
And it was also daytime, wasn't it?
yes. Mhm. So if someone was watching from the fire tower or someone was driving down the highway, why did no one else see these 2 crafts?
Mm-hmm.
Now, according to this podcast, Stan the Sun says that he didn't feel that the investigators did a solid job at the time. They didn't look beyond their report, and he wished they would have. Like they said, okay, this is your experience. They didn't really go out and reach out to other people. Like, hey, did you guys see anything? They didn't like. It didn't seem like they questioned the fire watchers. They didn't question the motel staff. Like they didn't.
Hey, did
Again,
you see anything?
it was 3 days after, and only because the newspaper put out an article that they even questioned him.
Jeez.
But this is interesting. Years later, because doing their own research, the son and his friend Chris, they did say that a girl did come forward that was in a cabin on the lake that drew a picture in crayon the day after the event that was similar to what his dad had saw.
Ooh, interesting.
Very. Stan says, I think probably one of the biggest things I've ever used to counter the skeptics is if you think it's possible to hoax something like this, then go out and give it a try. In fact, even do it with modern technology and see if you can do it. And you can't. There's no way to physically produce this thing. By that I mean the injury to my dad and the evidence that was pulled later from the site. There's no way to do this. You either have to be a genius, which my father was not, or a scientific wizard, which he is not, or have a team of people who can help you hoax this.
Wow.
He also said, my dad never changed his story once. There was never a slip. He was even put under hypnosis, and while under, he recounted the entire incident exactly as he described it when he was awake. How does a person do this? You either have to be the world's greatest liar, or you have to have some incredible capabilities that he did not have. In absence of anything that proves positive, one has to say that's the story.
Wow, Mindy.
Until the day he died, Stefan claimed that he believed it was an experimental aircraft and never claimed that the craft that he witnessed was of alien origin.
Okay.
So he's like, he never said it was aliens. He just said
No,
it was
he's
an unidentified craft.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. He doesn't seem like a bullshit kind of guy.
No.
He also said that he regretted telling his story. Him and his family suffered harassment by the public, and his sons were bullied in school.
Oh.
To this day, the Canadian Department of National Defense identifies the Falcon Lake Incident as unsolved.
Ah, Mindy.
Okay, Brooke, real quick. Thoughts. Okay. Why lie?
Why?
Why lie?
It created hell for him and his family.
Yes.
This following him around his whole life. And how can he make up the burns
physical
coming
maladies?
and going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I saw in his manuscript was that he was in a concentration camp. His wife and his wife's sister and mother, I'm not sure if they were Poland natives, if that when they met, that I wasn't clear on that. I'm not sure if they met while he was in the service, but they were in a concentration camp, and he at some point was caught as a U.S. military person and put in a concentration camp. So it's like, if your life involved a concentration camp, why are you that's hell enough. Like, that's real life hell.
Don't make it any more complicated.
Like, why would you have to make up anything beyond the truth?
No.
It's impossible. I just think it's impossible to make up these, like you said, these symptoms for years. And he never profited off of this. He never asked for money for his story.
Again, what does he gain from this but criticism and bad health?
Yeah. And even his son put out a book in 2017. The 50-year anniversary. So that was 2017. He released a book. It's called When They Appeared, meaning the media, not the aliens. When They Appeared, Falcon Lake, 1967, the inside story of a close encounter. His son says the proceeds of this book could go to charity. He's not, even his son's not trying to profit off of this, which I'm like, that's enough for me right there.
That speaks volumes.
So just to end on this quote from Stan, he says, "If Dad hoaxed this, remember, we're talking about a blue-collar industrial mechanic. If he had hoaxed it then, he was a freaking genius."
Yep. Good for you, Sonny. Wow, that was an interesting story, Mindy. I have not heard that one.
I'm so glad I got to tell it to you, and I deep dive. I do have two fun little nuggets, two little tiny nuggets. One, you can do a UFO tour of the site from Falcon Beach Ranch. There's a horse riding tour. It's about a 45-minute horse ride to the site this happened.
Okay.
You want to go?
No.
Can I get you in a buggy, like a golf cart?
I don't mind horses.
Okay.
No, a buggy's fine.
You would not go to the site? Are you serious? I would totally go in a second.
No, I totally would go to the site, but I don't have the travel time to go 11. I guess we'd have to fly, wouldn't we?
We'd have to fly to Winnipeg, drive an hour and a half to
and then get on some horses.
Get on some horses, and then we'll take pictures for our besties.
We can do it. Okay. We can make this happen.
Well, if that doesn't work out, I do have another option for you, which is in 2018, the Royal Canadian Mint issued a $20 non-circulating silver coin featuring the incident as part of Canada's Unexplained Phenomenon series of coins.
What? Wow.
So in line with Stefan's claims, the coin glows in the dark with beams appearing to emanate from the craft's underside.
Can I get one of these? This sounds awesome. You
can. Unfortunately, only 4,000 copies of the coin exist.
Oh, boy.
They initially sold for the retail price of $129.95. I'm guessing that's Canadian dollars.
Mm-hmm.
I did look up and see what they were going for on eBay.
Oh.
Actually, there's a sale that ends in 2 days and 3 hours that has 4 bids currently. Do you want to guess what the current bid is?
$4,000.
No, not that much.
Oh, $400.
Close. $540.
Oh,
and Brooke,
okay.
You have 2 days to get your bid in.
I'm getting on it.
But there's also a buy now price of $2,168.
See, I think it's gonna get up there, Mindy.
It's gonna get up to 2,000.
Get up there.
Yeah, I think so. And that, bestie, is the story of the Falcon Lake Incident.
Woo! Ooh, that was so good. Thank you,
Oh my
Mindy.
God, I'm exhausted.
I'm
See?
so tired.
That's what I get when I think I'm done with the topic and then I just keep digging and
Nope.
digging like my
Nope.
brain
Nope.
can't put it down. But yeah. And Bestie, I'll put all of those links as well in the show notes on the website. You can see the Unsolved Mysteries episode. You can see the actual police reports typed up. It is really fascinating if you want to go
I
down this
can't
rabbit
wait
hole
to
with me.
take a peek.
Yeah.
Okay, girly.
All right, chit chat. Let's finish it up.
You've been telling me you've got something to tell me, and I've been dying to hear it.
Oh, what was it?
No, you
Oh
can't
no,
do
I
this
did.
to me now.
Here's what we did. No, last week I did talk about going and flying to see the girls in
Yes.
Kentucky. I did get to see my college twins.
How are they doing?
They're doing good. I loved spending time with them. One's definitely feeling homesick. One's loving college. One's feeling homesick.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
It's tough. I was super homesick.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is hard. At least she has, her sister
Yes.
there. It helps a little.
Yeah. Well, last week we were also talking about window or aisle seats, and I did send you a picture, and I'll post this on our Besties Facebook page. I got a window and an aisle seat because the plane was that tiny.
Didn't I ask you, have you ever been on one of those planes where it's like 2 seats on one side and 1 seat on
It
the
was
other, or even
small.
1 and 1?
It's been a while. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So I did get the luxury of having both a window and aisle.
I mean, best of both worlds.
It was, and my flight down, unfortunately, I only had 24 hours there. So unfortunately, my flight down got delayed. So I was like delayed by 4 hours. So that sucked.
4 hours?
I mean, I know the first 2 hours, I'm like, I didn't leave the house because I'm like, that's fine. But then it delayed again, which I was already at the airport. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Which always
Bloody
sucks.
Mary time.
But yes, I did. And I will say the airport I flew into was the smallest airport I've ever experienced in my life.
Really?
I will post a video. It is Owensboro, Kentucky. It is 1 desk agent, 1 security guard, and 4 TSA agents. That's
now,
it.
Mindy, have you ever flown out of Dubuque?
Oh, it's smaller than Dubuque.
It's smaller than Dubuque?
Yes. It had 1 bathroom and a vending machine. There wasn't even a bar. Like, what kind of airport?
I'm sorry you had to
have a
experience
bar.
this. I'm so sorry.
It was awful. It was awful. And even when I got there, I had to get a rental car, and I couldn't find anyone to help me. Like, there was the TSA guys, but they were over doing TSA stuff, and there was like no one at the counter when I landed. I was like, hello?
Hello? Ring a bell.
Because like the Enterprise counter said to go to the other counter, but there was no one at either counter. And finally some guy comes out and he's like, oh, you have a rental car. Okay, let me look. Oh, here, I found the keys. And he just hands them to me. I'm like, are you not going to check my ID, my insurance, that I have a driver's license, my name? Nope. Just
good old trustworthy
gotta love
people down
Owensboro, Kentucky.
From Kentucky.
It was a strange experience, but no, I did love it. I did have a wonderful time with the girls, and
good. I'm glad you had fun, and I'm glad you got to go see them, because this is the first time you've seen them since you moved them in, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Good.
What about you?
Yeah, I love to hear that. Oh, I got nothing, Mindy. I'm just sick.
Your butt's still sore?
My butt's still sore. I'm sick. My butt's still sore. Did I mention I'm sick and my butt's still sore?
If you want to know why her butt's sore, you have to listen to last week's episode, because that sounds really bad otherwise.
Yeah, it sounds really bad, but
the story's way better.
Take a listen. It's a good one. Yeah. It's a good one.
All right, Bestie. I think it's time for us to go to bed and for you to continue with your day. So
until next week, watch out for Harmless the Heartless, not the Harmless.
Wow, that's hard to watch out for, but I'll try my best.
Try your best. Try your best.
And sweet
dreams, bitches.
You also gotta watch out for those UFOs.